Very straightforward subject to talk about today. It's called substitution, and I gather this is not going to be anything you don't know already, but we might be giving some new vocabulary to it, or some more technical vocabulary to it than what you're used to. So substitution is what you do when you take something which contains variables. So maybe somebody tells me that I have an expression, something like that. And then I'm going to tell you separately from that that x is equal to 2. So now that I know what x is, I can put the value in and I can actually do some work. And we do our normal thing, which is you put an equal sign next to it. So we do our work below. Everything that is not the variable stays. I leave an empty space where the variable was, and in there I put the 2. Now you'll notice I went to an awful lot of trouble to do that, and it didn't seem all that necessary. Yes, I could have just written equals 3 times 2 plus 5, and when the questions are easy, don't make any difference. If the questions are harder, you'll find that getting into that habit of first I left the blank space and then I put the 2 in and I came back afterwards makes things make a little bit more sense. But after that, doesn't matter at all. And now I'm just doing bedmass. So I do multiplication before addition. This is 6 plus 5, and that's 11. So everything I'm doing is working down, and it's that funneling technique. And if you're in the habit, you can put a box around your answer, and that's fine. A few small things. Notice when I wrote this down at the beginning, I called this an expression. So there's a difference between an expression and an equation. And if you think about it, equation is based on the word equals. An equation has to have an equals sign in it. So this thing by itself, which there is no equals sign here, it's just a set of instructions for things to do with numbers. That's an expression. If I knew, it would be a different question, and it's a different section of grade 9, if the question were 3x plus 5 equals, say, 7, in which case, that would be solving an equation, would be a different thing. So equation, expression, they're separate. Okay? Working down. The other reason that I want to do the brackets is you have to be very careful if it's a negative number. So let's take the same copy. Let's take the same question, but instead of saying x is equal to 2, we're going to say x is equal to minus 4. Now, when I did it my way, this works perfectly. 3, hold a place for it, plus 5, come back and put minus 4. So that is times minus 4, which is 15. I should put an equal sign there. I'm still doing bedmass. Multiplication becomes before addition, so 3 times minus 4 is minus 12. 5 and minus 12 plus 5 is minus 7. And I can put a box around my answer. The problem with negative numbers is because we use the same symbol for negative and subtraction, if you rush, you will wind up writing this. And I'm going to pick another color because this is not what you want to do. If I substitute in this minus 4 in a hurry, I will get equals 3 minus 4 plus 5. And then I will do 3 minus 4, which is minus 1 plus 5, and minus 1 plus 5 is 4. Right? Which is obviously not what was intended. You can tell from the way this is written, this is supposed to be multiplication, and if I did it without the brackets, the negative made it look like this was subtraction. And even if I knew it was 3 times minus 4, and I managed to write the minus 12, and I got the right answer, somebody who looked at this work later would say 3 minus 4 equals minus 12. They would see that as a mistake. So no matter what I'm doing, if I don't leave the bracket. So anytime you substitute and it's a positive number, it doesn't really matter, so this is fine. But if there is a negative number, you have to have brackets when you substitute, otherwise that's going to cause you to make mistakes. And the last thing we'll say, or I'll say as part of this video, is people sometimes have questions, which is, why is 3 times x written like that? Shouldn't it be 3 times x? And the answer is it could be. There's 2 reasons. There isn't. The first and foremost is that math people are lazy. And in all of the, if you ask people who actually do math and use math, et cetera, like people who use this stuff and really know what they're doing, and you ask them, what do you do most often? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. The answer is multiplication. The most popular operation in math is not addition, the simplest, it's actually multiplication. So when we were deciding, we want to be a little bit lazy, so first you might have noticed that they went from the times sign to just a dot. And then they got even lazier and they stopped writing the dot. So part of that is reasonable. The other reason is it kind of matches the English. So if you're going to buy 3 packages of hot dog buns and each package has 6 hot dog buns in it, then when you buy 3 6s, when you get 3 6s, you don't put a word in there. So, in math, we don't put a symbol in it. It's not perfect, but the real reason is just the laziness. So remember, when you see 2 numbers or even 2 variables together, I remember a couple of people in my class when I was much, much younger thought that if you had A times B, because you don't put a letter inside, and they said A is equal to 4 and B is equal to 3, they thought that answer, that must mean it was the number 43. But actually, no, it's 4 times 3, which is 12. So just something to keep in mind. And it's one of those things where you might not necessarily be able to guess that that's a convention, but once we tell you, okay, fine, kind of makes sense. So 3 of something, and 3 times something is basically the same thing. So that's how substitution works, and I think we're getting close to finding out what an actual polynomial is. So see you soon.